It's a new month on our channel, so hooray
Sorry
for
we're
that.
so late in the month again. We keep saying we'll do it earlier, and then, life happens, so we don't. But so this month we are talking about a very old computer game series from Humongous Entertainment. They did lots of games in the 90s when we were young children. So we're going to talk about three of them: Spy Fox, Pajama Sam, and Freddi Fish. So with this, we're going to talk about all of them. So one video is going to be about a protagonist. One video is going to be about an antagonist. We're also going to have a video about a regular character, which in this case means a character who showed up in all of the games of that one series, or like all but like one. And the final game is going to be a one-shot character, a character who showed up in one game and just never appeared again.
So we're going to start with our protagonist, and we have chosen Freddi Fish.
So, for starters, one thing that most people don't realize when watching the games or playing the games, whichever you've done, is Freddi Fish is a girl. Most people assume that she is a boy, and I thought she was a boy for the longest time. But
So did I, because we played the game when I was in kindergarten during our free time, and I never remember hearing that Freddi Fish was a girl. And we were all taught that Freddy is a boy name, so we all just assumed Freddi Fish was a boy.
And the voice, especially given that the characters are so young, it's hard to tell from the voice because it does sound feminine, but a lot of little boys are voiced by female voice actors, so it's like that's not really a telling thing. And I don't know about you, but all I had growing up was the Kelp Treasure one and the Conch Shell one. Those two games, and it was never directly addressed, her gender. But in the second game, she says to this one side character, "I'm a girl." So that I'm assuming that was done in an effort to
clear things up, because I assume a lot of young children, like we did, thought Freddi Fish was a boy.
Yep. Because as I said, I played the Kelp Seed one, and that was number one. So I had no idea, and I guess a lot of other fans had no idea, so I don't know, I wanted to clear that up. But, it doesn't really matter, it's just an interesting tidbit, I thought.
Yes.
So, what about the rest of her?
Now, as usual, we're going to talk a little bit about the character of Freddi Fish herself. Now, with who she is, she doesn't have a background story, really.
Like, she calls Grandma Grouper her grandma, but so does everyone. She has a cousin named Calico that we meet in one of the games, but like her parents were called Mr. and Mrs. Fish on Humongous Entertainment's website way back when. But nothing much about her outside of the games has been released. I mean, it's speculated that she and Luther are like 5-ish, and obviously they go to school because one game takes place when they are going to school.
Which only makes sense because this is a game that's target audience is young school-age children.
Exactly, so we don't really know much about her outside of her little adventures, but from the adventures we can speculate that she is smart and kind, given she goes out of her way to help people, pretty good at making traps, and pretty resourceful because she uses seemingly useless objects to get out of trouble.
Mm-hmm. And brave, considering some of the situations that she's been put in, because while a lot of those situations might not seem frightening to us because we're older, as a young child, like seeing a big scary dog that you're worried it might growl at you and bark at you.
It's
That's
also more
terrifying
comical
for a
because,
child.
it's animated fish. So that lessens the scary factor as well. But that's just me.
But yeah, like we said, she doesn't really have much of a background history. So I guess that brings us into, does she work as a character?
Um, so yeah, I mean she's like the centerfold of it.
The game is called Freddi Fish.
The game is focused on her. She's the main thing. It's what is she doing and how is she going to do it.
Mhm.
It wouldn't work without her, in all honesty, because
Because then, what do you call the game if the game?
it's not just that. It's if she wasn't doing something, there'd be no game.
Right.
So, like Luther's good. He's a good sidekick, but
Luther's a bit more comical too, so.
yeah, he wouldn't really do much because he's kind of selfish and lazy.
Yeah.
But the games, they wouldn't work without her because if she wasn't willing to do something or help someone, then it wouldn't really work.
Mhm.
Although it's actually kind of funny given this type of game is notorious for having kleptomaniac protagonists because they'll just pick up stuff from everywhere. She never steals anything. Most of the stuff that she does pick up, it's discarded or like out in the open and not belonging to anyone. And when she needs something that belongs to someone, she doesn't just take it and the game never comments. She trades for it.
Yeah, she trades for it or she has to borrow it. So,
It's
whoever
just a little
says.
interesting change up from what's normal in these kind of games. She even says at one point stealing is wrong, and the game doesn't sound like a hypocrite because of that. So the games, I really don't think they would work without her because not only is she she's the protagonist obviously, and the game's named after her, but I don't think the games would quite work the same way if it was a different person who was the named protagonist and who was the name of the game. Because without her blend of resourcefulness and kindness, the games wouldn't have the same feel. At least that's my opinion.
No, I agree with pretty much all of that, but seriously, kleptomaniac tendencies? Wow.
You never noticed that in those games?
Well, I've never heard anyone say it, but I can understand why some people would think it's stealing, but you're right. She trades, she has to borrow, or most of the stuff is
Think
lying
about
around.
it. In most of those kinds of games, you see a wrench lying around in a mechanic shop, and if you can pick it up, you'll pick it up and no one ever comments.
That is an excellent point, actually.
So that's kind of being a kleptomaniac.
Constantly
And
stealing things.
when you play these games, you look around for stuff that are colored differently in the background because you can pick it up, and you're on the search because it'll come in handy later. So you just pick it up without thinking about it because you want it.
That's very true. You were right about that. So, on to our next point. Does she work in her universe?
It's kind of hard not to. She's a fish. So.
And it's in the ocean, so she's not out of place.
And this kind of setting, it's not really inclusive in what kind of people are being shown.
But also, even personality-wise, no one around her is really drastically different, so
she's the nicest really, but that's not a noticeable why is this going on.
yeah, because nobody's really over the top rude in any of these games. There are villains obviously who have different personalities, but
Like even like the really bad guys, like the Squid Father, for a couple of games, there's obviously something really bad about him, but we never really see that. We just know he's an angry dude who wants stuff.
Yes. So
any of his darker moments aren't depicted in the game. So it's limited how bad we see people being. And while she is the nicest, it's not, or at least one of the nicest. It's not really strange.
no, because no one, like I said, is overly the top rude or mean.
So her niceness isn't like as noticeable. So yeah, so she fits into the setting, and I like how she deals with Luther and her moments when she's annoyed with him. Although there is like this, I guess you could call it a deleted scene in the first game where she has like this imagined spot. I haven't seen it, but I've read about it somewhere, where she lets that eel eat Luther. And he annoys her so much.
Really?
It's probably on YouTube somewhere. No, but that is a thing I read about somewhere.
Well, Luther can be very annoying,
Yes.
so.
Yes, you can. But it's a good contrast with Freddi, I think.
Yeah, because Luther's very self-centered in a way.
She is very nice, but you need that selfish foil, or it's, why is she so nice all the time?
Yeah. And we kind of get that selfish foil in Luther.
Yeah. So I like how that plays, but that's just me. So, anything else?
No, I think we've covered much. Does she fit in or not? So that brings us to our last point. Do we like her?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not very into the whole I'm nice to everybody all the time thing, but it doesn't really annoy me too much here, and the games are fun. Although if you don't know what you're like, if you don't know what you're doing, it can take you over an hour to do the game. But if you know everything, it takes you like half an hour at most. But it's fun.
We actually went through some trouble with one of the games for
Yeah,
that.
I played it like once, like well over a year before we did it, so we had no idea what we were doing, and we were like getting so annoyed with each other.
So I think we ended up spending half an hour figuring out one part out.
Yeah, not our greatest moments.
No.
No.
Especially
really
not when you realize this was a game meant for grade school children.
Yes. Big blow to the ego.
We're still smarter than 5th graders, though.
I should hope so.
Yeah, I would hope so too.
So, yeah, so we both think she works in the setting and as a character, and we both like her.
Yeah. So, I guess that pretty much covers it for Freddi Fish.
Yeah, these videos aren't going to be so long, I'm sorry to say, but the games don't really give us much to work with, but they were a pretty big part of my childhood, because they're one of the games I do remember avidly playing. So, we wanted to do them.
Mm-hmm. So, thank you for watching, and
keep an eye out for our next video. It'll be up soon.
Where we will be talking about another character from another game created by Humongous Entertainment.
So, bye.
Bye.